Well, hey everybody, it's John with Lake Erie Chestnuts. We are a 10-acre, 450 chestnut tree orchard located in Corry, Pennsylvania, which is in Erie County, the most northwest corner of Pennsylvania, very close to the Ohio border, and Lake Erie in the northern border, which is the name, Lake Erie Chestnuts. Our first chestnuts were planted in 2014. We planted 3 Dunstan chestnuts. We then bought 100 one-year bare roots from Route 9 Cooperative. It was called Empire Chestnuts back in the day in Carrollton, Ohio, from Mr. Greg Miller. And there was about 9 different varieties that we purchased there, 20 of one and 10 of each other variety. And we planted those 100 trees, plus another 100 or so seeds from Chestnut Ridge of Pike County, of which all of their trees are Dunstan. And then we've bought some other sources since then. We are completing our 10th year of this orchard, and the production is slowly but steadily increasing, and we're going to pick some of those today. While we're picking these chestnuts, I thought it'd be fun to do a little bit of a series here, and we're going to start with this one: how to build a chestnut orchard for $1 million. So come along with me, pick some chestnuts. We'll talk about how I'd build a chestnut orchard with $1 million. This tree is from a Perry mother tree. We only have 3 or 4 grafted trees. The rest of them are all just, we know the mother tree, but we don't know what the father tree was. This is our best producer, but it's an early producer. So if you want to get early chestnuts, this is the tree to get. It produces a large quantity early in its life cycle, but on the other hand, if you want late ones for archery season, if you're a deer hunter, you may want a different variety. The first thing I'd do if I was building a chestnut orchard for $1 million is I'd find land. And the ideal land would have good drainage. It would have decent soils. I could tolerate a little clay. I'd prefer to get out of the main blight area. So I'd be looking maybe kind of Iowa, Illinois. Not that you would be free of blight, but I would look over that way probably better. And I would make sure the soil pH was around 5.5, 6, no higher than 6, 6.1 or 2. I'd want to see a good, decent number of red oaks, members of the beech tree. The chestnuts are a member of the beech family, Fagaceae. That's how I pronounce it. Oaks, beech, and chestnuts are part of that, chinkapin. So I would want to make sure that there was plenty of red oaks on the property I was buying. And of course, you need a house to live in and a barn where you can do some production. Let's harvest some chestnuts here. We'll talk some more. We're going to do the chestnut shimmy. So a lot of chestnuts falling. Now we got to pick them up. A lot of chestnuts on the ground, huh? A harvester is needed in the near future. A couple chestnuts. And then I'm going to lump the burrs all in one spot. Sometimes if I'm in a hurry, which I am not today surprisingly, I'll just pick the burr and then I'll pick these later. And I could wait for them to all fall spontaneously, but sometimes it becomes just irritating trying to wait for all that. So you see me picking up these empty burrs. There's nuts going to be free on the ground. I'm just getting them out of the way so they're not faking me out. As long as you don't squeeze it tight, these rubber grease monkey gloves do just fine. And then, of course, to get them open more, use your foot. So some with singles, some with doubles, some with triples. There's a dub. I just mowed this orchard at 2.5. So I mowed that last night. Didn't get much video. Turned on the GoPro and it said, batteries are dead. Haven't even used it. It's great. This makes medium size nuts, a few larger ones. You see some of these that look like that. Those are unfertilized nuts. I leave those on the forest floor. I'm gonna pick these up. This will take me probably 40 minutes. Just about 25 minutes to pick up all these chestnuts. Let's grab the bucket, I'll show it to you. We have to do a final look around because these chestnuts can hide even in 2.5 inch soil. There's one right there. All of those burrs for these nuts. I'll have to weigh it. Maybe 8 pounds, 10 pounds. Still some, about a third of the crop still on the tree. So not bad. Some beautiful chestnuts there though. So we're talking about if I had $1 million building a chestnut orchard, we bought some property, we've got a barn and a house. Now we got to talk about equipment. We're gonna walk up to a couple of the other chestnuts that are dropping. And as we walk, let's go inside and look at some of the equipment I'd buy. Well, the first thing I'd do is buy a John Deere zero turn. I was way late to this. I tried to do it with a tractor, and now that I have the rollover protection down once I'm in the orchard, the amount of time that I'm going to spend mowing is unbelievable. It has been the best suggestion. Thank you to all of you who made that suggestion. I mowed yesterday, got it down. This was at 3.5, now it's at 2.5. Great purchase. I'd also buy a compact track loader. You can put forks on this, handle all sorts of equipment and material. Chestnuts, you could grade your chestnut orchard. You could do all sorts of things with this. For 75 grand, I think this would be a huge addition to any property, especially a chestnut orchard. It is high on my list of something to consider purchasing. And finally, I would consider one of the final big purchases would be for a chestnut harvester. Here's 3 different varieties here. We showed you the Phacma Samina. This is the Monchero. These things are pretty amazing. They take a lot of the work out of your picking up, which you're watching me pick them up here in the orchard by hand, and people do it by hand. This is a lot of money, but if you really want to get serious and get an orchard going, this is something you need, and you're going to drop probably at a minimum about 80 grand. And here's finally a Giampi harvester. This is a pull behind, so you're going to run over some seeds. I don't really like that, but it does bag individually into sizes. You can see the bags on the back, so it's a convenient way to handle that. Finally, you're going to need to build a barn, and you can get this right. You're going to have to get water to it, electricity, lots of power, because you're going to probably have to heat treat your chestnuts unless you're super lucky and don't have weevils. You're going to have to house heavy equipment in it. You're going to have your sorting tables. You're going to have a commercial refrigerator that can control humidity, a shipping container, probably an ocean-going container, and that is going to cost a lot of money. We're going to say $200,000 for all of that. Look at that beautifully mowed orchard. John Deere Z930M. Awesome. Unique looking burrs. This will have 5 or 6 nuts in it. This one too. This tree here has burrs that are open. Probably a couple nuts on the ground even. Some of those are just dangling there. So it's gonna get the old chestnut shimmy. Shimmy and shake. So now we've talked about buying the land, getting some structure on the property, And we talked about equipment. Now we'll talk about tree protection. Well, you all know how I feel about tree protection. If you're purely going into it for chestnut production, I would use wire cages. I would make them basically at least 2 inch by 4 inch at a minimum for the big size, and down to carpenter cloth if you want, hardware cloth. You could use 1/2 inch or something like that to keep anything out, or 1/4 inch. But anyway, you make those, have those made for you, put those around the tree, and then I'd fence the entire orchard with 8-inch deer fence. And then you have complete protection. So that's if you're purely going into it for chestnut production. If you're doing it and working with nature like I am, well, then you can get by with just the cages, and you can talk about the merits of tree tubes. And if you do have high deer pressure, tree tubes definitely fill a role. They can keep, they do force upward growth and get you above that 6-foot deer browse height, which is what we have here with the snowpack. You know, if you get a 2 foot of snow on the ground, deer can easily reach up to the 6 foot. But beyond that, the tops seem to be safe and they take off. So that's a tree protection. We're going to move one tree down and give it the old shimmy too. This is a tree that was known as shing, but maybe some other variety. Whatever it is, it's the same as the one I just picked nuts up off of. Really nice sized nuts in there. 2 out of 3. You gotta do the shimmy. Kind of need a helmet. A really nice 3-fer. Big, beautiful burrs. As a famous rap song says, I like big burrs and I cannot lie. I think that's how it goes. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments.
I like big birds and I cannot lie.
Once again, the tree has dropped a couple burrs on the ground. And then if you look up above, they're ready to go, so I'll just harvest those now too. These fell since yesterday, because I mowed here yesterday evening.
I like big birds and I cannot lie.
I'm kind of like a beekeeper at this point. You see me picking these up, but you don't see the times I get poked. I have one that's in my pinky, or in my finger right now. And they're just irritating and tiny. The rubber gloves do a good job, and I can be very dexterous, but I get some bee stings, some chestnut stings. Poor me. And finally, I'd buy the chestnut trees, and I would probably pay up $20 or so to get, maybe even 25 or $30 to get 2 or 3 year old chestnut trees. Here we're digging 1-year-old trees, but I'd probably wait for the 2nd year. It does seem like you get some improved survival, and so I'd pay about $20-25 a tree at scale for 2 to 3 year old trees. I think that's going to take care of it for today. That's what I'd do if I was going to spend $1 million to grow a chestnut orchard. Picked up about a third of a 5-gallon bucket. chestnuts today. We'll take those home, get those cleaned up, get them processed, put them in the fridge. I think we're going to sell these, folks. I can't ship to places like Washington, California, Michigan due to some restrictive patterns or agricultural importation and disease problems they have. But other than Michigan, I think this side of the Rocky Mountains, I can probably send them to you. So if you're interested, let me know. We'll set something up. You can email me at lakeeriechestnuts@gmail.com. That's one E in Erie. All right. I'm sure I'm not going to be able to keep up with demand, but I'll send some out. These are going to be earlier, just chestnut hybrids. They're mostly Chinese, but they may have some Japanese, some American, and a little bit of European is possible. But should have good blight resistance. Should be cold hardy. These trees have all survived minus 28 degrees Fahrenheit. So if you're interested, hit me up. We'll catch you on the next one. Remember, guys and gals, as always, if you're not growing, you're dying. Thanks for watching.